So this is my Troy-Bilt 20-inch 46cc chainsaw that I bought with a Menards rebate maybe 6 months ago, give or take. I bought this saw because, for one, I wanted a bigger saw. Usually the biggest I had was 18 and this is a 20, so it's a little bit bigger. But I kind of bought it because the setup back here, you know, with the ignition kill switch right there and the choke and everything, looked very similar to the layout on my Black & Decker, and this Black & Decker is one of the best chainsaws I've ever had. Now I bought a Craftsman that is actually the same as that. This Troy-Bilt only looks similar, but it's completely different. I don't like it because it runs like crap, and it's funny because if you take the air cleaner cover off, it runs amazing. So what that tells me is that it's having an air to fuel ratio problem, which means that the high and low idle need to be adjusted. I've done that before many times on a lot of my saws, and you know, you play with it, you get it figured out, and then they run so much better. Problem is, I got some little carburetor adjustment tools here. Each one of these has a different end on it. You know, they're all, some of them have like a star pattern, some have like a half moon pattern, some are hex like that one, which I know you probably can't see these very well. This one just has a little tiny like indent on the side. Other than that, it's perfectly circular. So these are all different. I'm assuming different companies probably have different adjustment screws in these just to complicate things and make people buy more tools. But anyway, problem I'm having, none of these fit, which is weird. I tried every one of these wrenches on here and none of them fit. They either don't even fit over the adjustment screw, or they do fit on there but it doesn't turn the screw. But it's hard to see, but it's that those two screws are in there a little ways, maybe an inch in there. And when I flash the light on them, it's really hard to tell what they're shaped like. So I don't really know, you know, what wrench I'm supposed to be using. And these fit, some of these fit on my Poland's, my Black & Decker. I'm gonna dig into this thing right now. I want to get this saw running better because it really makes me mad that it runs like crap. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw some more of these tools on there, see if I can't figure this out, but I might have to kind of rip this thing apart a little bit. A part of me was almost wondering if there wasn't like a issue where around the screw, I'm just wondering if maybe the end of this isn't going on there because maybe it's hitting on the material that's around the screw. I don't know. I have a rotary tool that I've had for like 20 years and I just got a new accessory set, and inside of there they have some really skinny little grinding attachments. And if that's the case, if there's just a clearance issue down here, then I can grind around it maybe, and then maybe it'll fit in there. But it's really marred up because I was trying really hard to get these to fit on there, and I may or may not have been using a striking tool to try to help it get on there. So it's all marked up. Who knows what I did. I'm gonna take this thing apart and check it out. This is electric. 4 mil. Man, that is dirty. That is 100% my fault. This thing's practically brand new and it's filthy. Okay, now my GoPro doesn't adjust very good, but can you see what I'm talking about? It's not really adjusting. I'm sorry, it's fuzzy. See that? Closest thing I have is the little Pac-Man. And that's not, I didn't make that up. That's what this kit says. So I see where the dash is. It's pointing down. Still pointing down. It didn't move at all. Nope. I'm still gonna try these just to see if I can get it to do anything. This thing is complete garbage if you can't adjust that. So I'm not really sure what to do. I gotta look into this more, but this totally makes me mad. All right, I just threw this piece of crap back together. Not getting anywhere with the carburetor situation. And there's no air cleaner on it, so. Okay, so you heard it there. Now watch this. All right. So I just put the air cleaner crap back on. See how different it sounds? It's so restricted that it has no power, and that's just holding it up in the air. When you actually get into a piece of wood, it's even worse. It has no RPM, so obviously it's not adjusted right. All right, you're about to see me do some stupid stuff. I can't remember where I left off in the last video. I think I started this and I showed how if you take the air cleaner off, it runs really good. It has good RPM, good power, good speed, runs great. As soon as you put this thing back on, which I did a poor job putting it back on, but when you put it back on, it literally chokes this thing out. It just has no power. I mean, you can barely even like run it good just holding it in the air. When you actually get into a piece of wood, this thing's worthless. So like I think I said before in the first part of this video, is that tells me that the carburetor needs adjusted, the low and high idle screws. Because right now with the air filter on, it has an air to fuel ratio problem, which is why when you remove this, it runs so good, because it's getting the amount of air that it should. Right now it's too restricted, but you can't run this thing with the with it off, obviously. I actually tried that one day and it cut really well, except it got so much sawdust and shavings up in the air that it obviously goes right towards the intake. You have to have this on, but you gotta have it tuned right. This thing just sucks anyways. I hate this saw, but everybody, I explained that none of my little carburetor adjustment tools work, and I've had a few people reach out and say, it's the Pac-Man. I know it is. I know. Got a Pac-Man right here, and I've done everything I can. I mean, I've twisted this thing and pushed on it, and I've wiggled it, and I've done stuff, and I've removed this carburetor like twice already to look at it. It does not fit on there. In fact, I don't even think that this is like even the right size thing, because it doesn't even go over it. It won't even try to get over it. Anyway, I want to try more with this, see if I can't figure something out. So I'm going to do some weird crap if I can't get this to work. But first thing I'm doing here, I'm taking the carburetor off. I just got these new T-handles. These are Torx. Got a T20 and a T25. Of course, it's my other saws that use Torx. This one is actually the normal kind. This saw just sucks. Everything about it. It's so different from my other ones. And I know I'm not like good at this stuff, but it's still a crappy saw. I got Pullin' Wild things that are old and they run off. They don't run awesome, but they work well. I mean, better than this. This is brand new. This is a 5/32, or the equivalent in metric. But this is working, so this is what I'm using. It's probably better to use these over putting a bit in my impact gun and doing it that way. That's how you crack plastic and strip things out. It actually runs surprisingly well considering how much wood chips and stuff went into this thing. See what I just did right now? What I just did right now, I dropped the screw in there. 10 years ago would have been a problem. That's exactly why I get these magnets. I use them all the time. These are really nice. Cheap too. It's a cheap tool that you'll might not use it a lot, but when you do need it, you're super glad you got it. Get magnets, extendable magnet things. Okay, now it should come off. Take that off. I think it's the same. Yep, same size. I'm not a small engine person, I never have been. I don't know how good I'm going to be able to show this, which I already think I did show it, but in theory Pac-Man should fit that. So I'm going to play with this a little bit, see if a miracle can happen. See, it's like it wants to, but it can't. Something here is wrong. I was at Menards one day too, and I almost thought about getting another set of these because I thought maybe my Pac-Man is a dud. Maybe it was manufactured poorly or something, so it's not working the way it should. That turned it. And you know what? This is gacked up really bad. I wonder it doesn't want to go on there. The metal's bent on the tip of this. I wonder if that was a manufacturing error. Okay, well, I just turned that. So the left screw is the low idle, the right screw is the high idle. When I have this thing wide open throttle, if it dogs down real bad, then that means it's too rich. So I would need to lean that out a little bit. So decreasing the amount of gas would even out the amount of air. So, which is exactly kind of the problem. Like if it's running rich already and I take that air cleaner off and it gets more air, then it's gonna run better. But I want it to run good with the air cleaner on. So I need to lean it out so there's not so much gas going in there. You know, I'm not good at this stuff. I don't know. It's working fine now. There is a burr on this thing though. I just tore it off actually. I just saw it. I don't know. You probably can't see that. There's a little piece of metal sticking off of there. If this thing in any way had, you know, a piece of metal sticking out on towards the inside, then it would not fit on anything because the diameter would be too small or not working. I guess maybe I should have inspected my tools better, but it's turning it now. Before I put this carburetor back on and attempt to do it through the side again, I'm going to turn this screw. I'm going to lean it out just a little tiny bit, like a half turn maybe. I know that's probably a lot, but wow, that one's on there now. See that? See, that's the way it should be. I probably look really ignorant and stupid in these videos, but okay, well, I'm not going to have 100 gigabytes of me screwing with this, so I'm going to shut the camera off. Alright, it took a while, but I got this stupid cover back on. I really want to have this thing on there real tight so there's no air leaks from anything. I want to make sure that we're going completely off of the carburetor's adjustment so there's no air leaks causing any lean or rich problems, which I've had those on like small block Chevy engines before, where you have a leak somewhere and it throws off, so you get your carburetor exactly the way it should be and it still doesn't run right, and it's because you got crap leaking, you know. But small engines, I think, are extremely sensitive because they're just small, you know. If you have 8 other or 7 other cylinders and pistons, then it's kind of like, you know, whatever. But it even matters how dirty your air cleaner is. You know, there's so many things. See, I don't buy a Husqvarna or a, you know, steel, whatever it is, or an Echo because I don't deserve one. Because I don't take care of this kind of stuff. But sometimes it's like these things are so crappy that I kind of wish I'd get a decent saw, but I won't. That Black & Decker saw I have in some of my other videos is the best chainsaw I've ever had. It's amazing, and it was only 80 bucks on clearance. I've been chasing that ever since. And this, I bought this thinking it was like the Black & Decker. It's not. It's completely different. I want to see if I can get this thing to actually go on these screws now. That's on there. So either I'm super stupid, which is a big possibility, or there actually was a burr on the end of this and I didn't really clear it until now. But that's on the high idle jet. So we're gonna fire this bad boy up indoors with the air cleaner on, I should say. Ignition on. Pump this thing about 10 times. 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Choke all the way out. Ignition on. Bars released. Smoky in here. Dripping some bar oil, which it always seems to do that. So I can't seem to get it. It could be because it was running and it was just bouncing around a lot, but lean rich. It sounds good idling. Okay, well, it's on there, on the low one. I gotta get this down. Right is lean, left is rich. So when you turn it right, that screw is going inward, restricting the gas in the air. Left moves it out, which opens the orifice, or whatever it's called, and enriches it. So that's why I was confused. Right lean, left rich. Okay, so what I just did, just earlier, I had this on the high idle screw. It confused me that it was getting better as I was turning it clockwise, and that was because I was leaning it out because it had too much air, too much gas, or whatever. Anyway, that's weird. Left rich, right lean. Left rich, right lean. So I'm on the low idle screw right now, which is kind of fine. But if I turn it left, it would just richen it a little bit. If I turned it right, it would lean it out just a tad. So I'm just gonna start it and see what happens. I'm playing with this because I'm learning. That was too rich. Now I'm leaning it out. Okay, so I'm learning some stuff here. All right. So with the air cleaner on there, filter cleaner, and it's fastened all the way. There's no gaps or anything. You saw it earlier in this video that it's running better now than it was, because before what I just did in the first part of this video, I ran this with the air cleaner on and it ran like crap. It barely even had any RPM. It was too rich. So the high, even with wide open throttle, there's too much gas, which, gas and air come together. So as you open the throttle, you're getting more gas and you're getting more air. That ratio, I'm not totally 100% on how that works, but by turning that screw though left, you're letting it have more gas and air. By turning it right, you're taking away gas and air. So at full throttle, turning this thing right on the high idle, it's leaning it out so it's not bogging down because it doesn't have any unburnt fuel, or it's burning more of it, so then the RPMs go up. That's so weird, but I think I'm right. So obviously on the high idle, when you turn this left really far, it just riches the crap out of it almost where it can't run. And too much of anything you're not going to run. Too little of anything you're not going to run. It's the sweet spot in the middle that you need to be at. So I apologize to everyone watching these videos that, all my whining about this wrench and everything, but it is frustrating trying to get this on there. But it goes on way easier than it did, and I think it's because I got that metal burr off the inside of these. These are just cheap tools made in China. This whole set of however many of these I bought from Menards was cheap. It was not... so they left a burr on the end of the, I don't know if they cast these. Obviously they don't mill them. I would think there's no way. I don't know how this stuff is made. It wouldn't go on before because the end of this thing was all gacked up. It looks way better now than it did. And all I did was take my Phillips, where obviously it comes to a point, a crappy Phillips, by the way. And I just did that. I didn't want to mess up the Pac-Man part, but I just wanted to take whatever burr or whatever was in there off, which it came off. I saw it come off, so it's a lot better now. I should almost try to get some better wrenches though, even though this works. So I'm happy with the high idle. Right now I'm happy with it, but as soon as I start cutting into wood, that's a completely different story. If I start cutting into a log and I lose a ton of RPM and it seems like it's bogging, then it could be too rich or too lean because it needs more fuel, but it's not getting it. So then in that case, I would have to turn this left to enrich it just a tad, give it more fuel so it can do its job. So I think that's probably the move that I'm gonna have to make now, testing it on a log, which is something I need to go do. And then the low idle, I'm not concerned about that. This thing's always idled fine. It starts a little crappy. I guess once you start this thing, immediately it's technically in its low idle because you're not giving it any fuel. The choke is on, and then you take the choke off, and then it's warming up, and it's that warming up part is it's running off of the low adjustment. So if it's running too rich, then it should get loaded up right away while it's idling. But anyways, I'm gonna have to run this thing more. I'm just thinking out loud. I'll have to run this thing more and adjust it as I go, but I want to do it cutting into a log, because holding it up in the air or setting it on the ground, it helps me kind of get it where I want it, but I still need to fine tune it to actually cutting with it. But this is hopeful for me. Maybe there is going to be some redemption for this saw, because I've hated this saw since the day I unboxed it and thought it looked great. You can see my reaction in one of my older videos on this. As soon as I ran it, and I just thought, man, this thing sucks. I dropped like 6 or 7 ash trees and maybe a maple or 2 that I didn't get on video because I didn't have the time to film, and I would have had to leave my camera on like forever, and we needed to drop trees and it was dangerous, and I just didn't film it. But this saw was giving me problems while I was halfway through felling a tree and had wedges in and everything, and it wasn't running right. I was mad. And I ended up taking one of my Wild Thing saws, and they, as crappy as they run and as old as they are and low on power and everything, the Wild Thing saws saved the day because this brand new one couldn't do it. But that's not 100% Troy-Bilt's fault, because you're kind of supposed to fine tune this stuff when you get it anyways. It just kind of bums me out right away that I had to figure out how to do that. Otherwise the saw would be worthless to me, because my Black & Decker saw, I never touched those screws, not once. And that saw has ran awesome. Every second that I've ran that saw, it's ran amazing. It starts amazing. It has great power. You can run it and run it and run it and run it and run it, and it's fine. Just needs more gas, more fuel mix, and more bar oil, and you're good. You need to get this one up to snuff. It's going to be a while before I actually get out to fine tuning it more. So I'm going to upload this video just to show that I'm making progress. Stay tuned. I'll cut into logs with this at some point and do some more fine tuning. And thanks to everybody who in my chainsaw videos tells me stuff about, adjustment tips. And somebody mentioned that this was a Pac-Man, even though I didn't believe that it was, and it turned out to be a Pac-Man. So that's how bad I am with this stuff, specifically 2-strokes and specifically chainsaws. So it was a Pac-Man. Maybe I'll look into getting just ordering one of these. That's really nice, because this one still sucks. My camera isn't going to zoom in on this or adjust, but this literally, that little dent there is almost non-existent. It's supposed to be a triangle. This is like a half circle, even though this is a Pac-Man. Yeah, so thanks to everybody who gives me tips on this stuff. In one of my sharpening videos, I had mentioned how I didn't know what rakers were until somebody commented on one of my videos. And now I file down my rakers as needed, and I get so much more use out of my chains. And if people wouldn't tell me that, I wouldn't really even know. I wouldn't even think to figure it out. So awesome. Thanks for the help, everybody. And I read every comment, so I take every comment into consideration, which is what I just did in this second part of this video, is I took people's advice and put it to the test, and it was true. Thank you for that. Stay tuned. I'll have more on this thing. A little smoky in here. I gotta get out of here. All right, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.